Well, hello and welcome to China. We're at the Ningbo International Speed Park, a brand new circuit built very recently. The website's not even been created. It's been the eastern province, the coastal province of Zhejiang, and about 200 kilometers south of Shanghai. As you can see, the weather's not playing ball. Believe it or not, this is meant to be the better of the 2 days for qualifying. We've had two very wet free practice sessions, and all things now pointing at qualifying and Mach 3. My name is Tom Gamer, almost forgot that. And alongside me is the infamous Matt Neal. Matt, well, your guess is as good as mine as what's going to happen here and who can put their car on pole position. But for British fans, Rob Huff has been going very well.
That's right, Tom. Local marshals out in Fortress trying to get some of that standing water off the circuit. The weather has been horrendous today so far, and as you say, they forecast double that tomorrow, so it's going to be pretty treacherous conditions going forward for these guys.
You were also top in the charts in FP1. First time that we have been to this circuit. What's it like?
It's tricky, to say the least. You know, with the dry yesterday in CTCC, had some great running, 2 half-hour practices and that. And it's tough. It's a really technical circuit. And then, of course, when it rains, being brand new, it's just literally oil from the tarmac, from the new tarmac, absolutely everywhere. And it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've shown my onboard lap yet, but it's pretty scary, to be honest. I mean, you're going down the straight in 5th gear, there's a kink left, and the car just starts to aquaplane. But it's tough, but it's actually a really nice circuit. You know, it's fast, it's flowing. It's got some, you know, great undulations. We sort of start climbing the mountain there and come back down. And but it's tough, but it's great.
Are there going to be any nice opportunities to overtake?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've just raced in CTCC, and we started on pole, got a drive-through penalty, and came out and still managed to win the race. So, yeah, you can overtake. It's just quite where is, you know, you don't know until it you know arises in front of you. So, but it's tough because you don't know where the line is, you don't know where the grip is, and you know, you're exploring, trying different areas of the track. And then you find some grip, but then the next lap you go for it again and it's not there. So it's not easy.
No, and the weather has also changed yet again. At the moment, it was chucking it down earlier. It's not chucking it down now. How much difference would that make here?
I mean, the biggest thing is, as long as the conditions are the same for everyone, but of course Q3 throws a spanner in the works because it's now stopped raining for the first time today, and I think as long as this car's running on track, it will dry, and I think it will dry quite quickly because it's not cold, you know. Okay, it's wet and it's clammy, but it's not cold, so it will dry quick. Depending on what you know, whether the sky's open or not in Q3, depends whether you're going to get lucky or unlucky. You're saying that it's just started raining again. So, you know, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be difficult. But we're going now, 10 minutes. See you in a bit.
Good stuff, power's on.
Well, Eurosport's very own Alexandre Legui there with Rob Huff, who's been very quick in the free practice sessions, and we talked about that just before we went to a short commercial break. I think Rob Huff's very, very well placed to get a pole position, and that would be a great opportunity for him to put his title charge back on track. It will be his second pole position of the year if he could do it, but there's a long way to go in qualifying before he manages to make that opportunity count. The safety car is out, just doing some laps here, and going quite quickly, Matt Neal.
Yeah, Bruno Carrera putting it through its paces. So it'll be It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a safety car go off, would it?
No, they're not wearing helmets either, so it's quite rare actually you see in the safety car.
It's more of a circuit inspection, I think, which they're doing. But young Jan Elachet having a quick squint over the pit wall, seeing what it's going to do. Yeah, it's still pretty wet, mate, at the minute, but there's a strong wind here today, so it's as Huffy just mentioned, I mean, it's heavily overcast, but the wind can dry a circuit out very, very quickly. Looks like Bruno's having some fun. Volvo sounds well, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds very good, and a bit of tyre squeal to go with it as well. Big news as we head into qualifying for this penultimate round of the 2017 FIA World Touring Car Championship is the championship leader, Tiago Monteiro. The Portuguese star for Honda is not here, and that is courtesy of his crash at Barcelona, a testing incident, as we had a 13-week gap between the last round in Argentina and here in China, and that's rendered him under the weather. Yeah,
he had a brake failure of all things, purportedly in Barcelona. Went off. Physically, he's perfect. He had a head injury, so it's a hangover from concussion, which has given him double vision. If he looks through his left eye, he's got perfect vision. If he looks through his right eye, he's got perfect vision. But if he uses both eyes, he gets double vision. He's been working really hard with the doctors to rectify it, but it's a time thing, really. So he's got to miss he wanted to race here, but the doctors ruled him out, and his target now is Japan in a couple of weeks' time. But it's a rough one. Leading the championship, first time, and his best chance of becoming a world champion, and Honda's best chance of becoming a world champion, you know, getting their driver. So I'm sure Volvo were rubbing their hands together when they heard the news in the nicest possible way. But you know, we wish Tiago well. He's got a super sub this weekend with Gabriele Tarquini, who's settled in very nicely, hasn't he? He's been super quick in the wet conditions so far.
He has indeed. There are the Drivers' Championship points. Ted Bjork, the Swede, is really in a good position to capitalise on Tiago's misfortune. There are over 50 points up for grabs if you maximise the return in terms of 2 wins. There are bonus points as well. Norby Michelis is well placed in third. He's only 29 behind Tiago Monteiro. Ted Bjork 12. And then you've got Mehdi Benani 4th, Nick Katzberg 5th, and Tom Chilton 6th as well. Rob Huff down in 7th is, you know, only, let's say, 65 away. So, you know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Rob still has a great chance of winning this championship, but the others will have to have a little bit of misfortune for that to happen. There is Ted Bjork, who, as I said a second ago, is very well placed. 12 points behind Tiago Monteiro going into this weekend. It is, though, a new circuit, Ningbo International Speed Park, built in Zhejiang, which is a coastal eastern province of China. There is no website yet, but the chap that designed this circuit also designed the Barber Motorsports Park and the Miller Motorsports Park in the USA. That is Alan Wilson, who is the husband of Desiree Wilson, who is one of very few ladies to have made it to Formula One. Here is the Independence Trophy. Mehdi Benani, Tom Chilton and Rob Huff all tied on points for this championship. It's very tightly contested, and Rob Huff will have eyes on the main championship, as will the other protagonists, but certainly this is a trophy not to be dismissed, and Mehdi Benani, one of those of a trio of drivers tied on points that really does want to go home in, well, from Motegi, crowned the Independence champion.
Well, Benani is he's lying 4th in the championship at the moment, isn't he? So he's Citroen's best hope yet. I mean, Huffy's really been the man with seems to be the ultimate pace, but it hasn't gone his way. And you know, we've got Banani up there, Chilton up there, and Huff as well. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. The Hondas have struggled so far this weekend in the wet, but they are carrying full weight, which is going to be a real Achilles heel for them. The Volvos have been very fast so far, as has Huff, especially in the Citroen.
Honda with the advantage in the manufacturer's class. And looking away from that, just one or two bits of news to go with the Thiago Monteiro news. It's Zolt David Szabo, who is continuing his run with Zengo Motorsport, made his debut in the World Touring Car Championship last time out in Argentina. He steps up from the European Touring Car Championship, where he's been going rather well. And Felipe de Souza is back in World Touring Cars. So the driver from Macau made his debut in 2011, but hasn't been back since the TC1 World Touring Car was introduced in 2014. So his first experience of this car. And of course, we touched on it, or you mentioned Thiago Monteiro's replacement, and that is Gabriele and Tarquini, who we know as a former World Touring Car champion and with many race wins under his belt, is a very, very good replacement indeed. Gabriele Tarquini was saying after free practice that the track is tricky. He was basically lost in the first 10 laps, and Rob Huff was saying something similar. It's difficult to find a line. The car, even though he's a Honda stalwart, is completely different to the one he raced in 2015.
Very different. I mean, Volvo and Honda really upped the game this year in both chassis and engine departments. But I mean, the impressive thing about Tarquini, he hasn't sat in one of these since pretty much this time last year. So, and these TC1 cars are, you know, they are a level above a lot of the other touring car kit around, you know, the globe. So for him to jump straight back in and be right there, I think it was probably easier because it was wet. And if we do get a bit of dry running, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out for him in that.
So just under a minute before we get going for Q1. And in Q1, the top 12 will progress through to Q2. So with a field of 17 drivers, that will mean that 5 will miss out. And expect the top 12 to be quite tightly contested. There is Tom Coronel. And more issues here in the Zengo Motorsport Hub. So they didn't make it out in FP1. Neither car were out in FP1. It was only Daniel Nagy that made it out in FP2. But certainly now a few issues in that squad. Q1 here in China about to get underway. The green flags are waving. The cars are pulling out of the pit lane. It is, of course, the penultimate round of this 2017 World Touring Car Championship. Round 13 of 14. And it's a new venue for the World Touring Cars and pretty much everyone, because this Ningbo International Speed Park has pretty much just been completed. And with the wet weather conditions that we saw in FP1 and FP2, very similar for qualifying, so most of the drivers will have been able to learn their trade, so to speak. But it's going to be interesting now. We saw in FP2 certainly some of the Volvo engineers mulling over how much tyre wear they were suffering, and will you expect the drivers to be out there for the whole 20 minutes and continue to push, or what do you expect to see here?
Well, I'm actually quite surprised that they're all rushing out there at the beginning, because your tyres want to be, you know, you want fresh rubber on when it counts, and at the moment rain isn't coming out the sky, so this track is only going to get faster and faster as the session goes on. You know, 20 minutes with cars circulating, it should dry out fairly quickly. You know, with the flat floors and the Venturas, they'll pick the water up off the ground as well and sort of throw it into the air and off to the side. So it should dry out fairly quickly. So I don't understand that they're all rushing out, but they haven't had any dry running yet.
The only thing I can think of is they think it's going to rain, or they think it's going to rain. But look at this. This is the brightest it's been. It's markedly brighter than it was in free practice 2. It was so dark and gloomy, and now you can actually just about see everything.
The only thing you do get, Tom, is, you know, remember, is when it sometimes, as it gets to those middle conditions, it actually goes slower, doesn't it? Because the water isn't cooling the blocks of the wet tyre. So as it gets drier, you go slower. So maybe they're trying to set up good banker time, and then they'll come in and sit it out. So a lot of spray coming up there, isn't there?
And we don't know how greasy the track's going to get. So Rob Huff talked about all of the oil of this new asphalt that's been laid being on the surface of the water. When the water clears, sometimes you get that sort of really greasy film.
Yeah, it's when new asphalt's been laid. It's pretty horrendous to drive on, really. It's very, very slippy, which you could see in earlier on this morning in both free practice sessions. They were really struggling with keeping the cars in a straight line with aquaplaning. So a lot of that standing water's gone. But we are forecast shed loads tomorrow. Shed loads.
Gabriele Tarquini in for Thiago Montero in the factory Honda squad. Has gone very well in practice so far. He was 5th quickest in free practice 1 and 5th quickest in free practice 2. And he looks like he's going to be one of the first to set a representative lap time here around this Ningbo circuit, a circuit that is 4 kilometers long, and no representative lap record set yet.
Our track is much drier now. Probably the driest it's been for us. Almost no standing water. Possibly want to get some slick tires ready for 2 or 3 just in case, because water.
Sounds like Rob's been touching up on his Chinese there.
Well, he's saying we might need some slick tyres ready for FP2, Q2, sorry, just in case. Well, I think that would be wishful thinking, but you just never know.
I think you could be on slick. A brave man could go for slicks at the end of this run. Well, I don't know. There's only 15 minutes left to go, so.
So Gabriele Tarquini across the line, and he will go quickest, courtesy of being the first to set the representative lap time. Next across the line will be Nesta Girolami, and Nicky Katzberg's gone through. Mishigami down to 4th, and this Erlache, who's popped up to 2nd. Now, we spoke a lot about him in free practice 1 because he was very impressive, wasn't he, Erlache? And he's straight up there in the opening exchanges of this qualifying session. Look at Rob Huff. That's a purple time next to his name. Now, this is a chap who has had more track time than anybody else. He's racing in the Chinese Touring Car Championship as well, so he's done qualifying and the race, as well as his 2 free practice sessions and this first exchange in qualifying. So Rob Huff has basically been in the car all day, and he's really relishing the opportunity to go quick. Ted Bjork is going quick as well. So the purple on your screen is an all-time session best. The green is a personal best. So here comes Rob Huff across the line to go quickest. That knocks Gabriele Tarquini to 2nd. Erlache is 3rd. Nesta Girolami now down to 4th, and Mishigami 5th. Ted Bjork's lost out somewhere because he's dropped a huge amount of time there, hasn't he?
It's pretty close at the top with Tarquini, Girolami, Mishigami, Chilton. There's less than half a second covering them. All Who's that running wide? Is that?
That's Ted Bjork. So he was very quick in the opening sector, lost a huge amount of time in the middle sector, and is now negotiating his way round the final sector. Hasn't been that quick yet in these wet conditions, but he goes second quickest. It's imperative for Ted Bjork that he can qualify near the front. You don't want to be going, for my money, down into turn 1 tomorrow in the pack. Tom Chilton up to 4th. I spoke to him after free practice 2, and he was really buoyed by his performance. He said he really enjoyed throwing the car around, and he kind of likes that sort of loose feel, doesn't he? You get the impression with Tom, when he's enjoying it, he tends to go at his best. So 4th place for the Brit.
Okay, we got Gabriele. He's come in, he's done his sighter. What's he sitting it out? He's going to get some fresh boots on, I reckon. So he's the one who's blinked first.
His teammate up to 3rd, Norby Michelis.
Oh, Guerreri, that's how he's been all day so far. He's been throwing that Chevy Cruze around all over the place, but he's been spectacular, and he was up there in FP2, so we can't count him out of the mix at all.
He's been brilliant, Esteban Guerreri. He's been on the grass a few times and lived to tell the tale. Didn't damage the car. Rob Huff didn't improve that time around, so it's still Rob Huff from Ted Bjork. Esteban Guerreri now into 3rd. Norby Michelis is 4th. Tom Chilton down to 5th. Nicky Katzberg 6th. Tarquini, the Italian, 7th in the pits. And Erlachey now down to 8th, just ahead of Nesta Girolami. Rio Mishigami, there he is. The Japanese star is 10th. Tom Chilton very sideways. This is where a few of the drivers are being caught out, and that grass on the outside as you enter into turn 17 has been used more than once.
The sliding is not good though, Tom. You just want to be on the edge of sliding so you get maximum forward propulsion, just not wheel spinning too much to get the optimum traction and everything. So that produces a good fast lap time. Doesn't look spectacular.
Chilton up to 4th, and so he's managing to get the car around. And I know what you mean. If you're going sideways, you're not going forwards, and that's the simple equation. If you're not going forwards, you're going to lose time because you travel further than you need to travel. So in fact, the only person that's really made it work so far is Esteban Guerreri. There are 1 or 2 that can make it work, and Chilton not far behind him in 4th. Nicky Katzberg in the pits, together with Gabriele Tarquini, Nesta Girolami and Rio Mishigami.
Hope he's still top of the pile, going faster again. They're chasing him, they're dropping their times all the time, but he just stays that 1 step ahead of them.
Well, Rob Huff continues to go quicker. Gabriele Tarquini is here.
And wait till the end, because he's every lap a little bit dry, so wait the last lap possible, okay?
Look at those gloves. Matt Neal pointed this out in free practice 1. Those are Thiago Montero's gloves. So I'm not sure if he's here in disguise or what, but either that or that's the only gloves they have at Honda.
Well, yeah. Maybe it's a superstitious thing. Bernani trying hard there, using every inch of the track and some. It's okay to use the inside curbs in these conditions, but you just got to stay off those outside ones. They'll be like ice.
So into the...
That's Chilton in.
Yeah, into the halfway point of this Q1. The top 12 go through. So looking at the times at the moment, it's Coronel, Gleason and De Souza and Nagy who won't go through. Zolt David Zabo's not made it out. He's not turned a wheel at all. Surely they'll let him race tomorrow. He has.
That's a long way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, for that very reason, it's a long way to go if you're not racing. He has done a World Touring Car weekend, and he's a race winner in European Touring Cars. So hopefully he does manage to get out. Here is De Souza, who's making his return to the championship.
Yeah, it'd be good if Alex could wander along down to the Zenga Motorsport guys and just see what's actually up with that. So De Souza, where is he at the moment?
Well, De Souza is in 15th place, so only Daniel Nagy is behind him. Here is Tebiok. I mean, it is visibly drying, isn't it? You can see that the lean angle that they're getting is more than anything we've seen this weekend.
It will stay wet, 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 and then you'll get a dry patch.
I thought you were going to break into a single there.
Well, you don't want to hear my signal.
Too early for that, is it? Wet, wet, wet. Hey, that's a blast from the past. So we're on Twitter. Please do give us a follow and tweet us any questions. We'll try and get those answered as the qualifying session ticks away. You can follow me at Tom Gaymore, TOMGAYMOR, and at Matt Neal, TTNEAL Racing. So we'd love to hear from you. And if you've got any sensible questions, we'll get them read out. 7 minutes on the clock. It's Ted Bjork who's gone quickest ahead of Rob Huff, who's in the pits, so can't improve at the moment. But I think that's going to be the case now. As the clock ticks down, the track's going to get drier and drier. Look at that arc you can see through turns 1 and 2. Esteban Guerri is in 3rd, Tom Chilton 4th. Erlachey, who's back out, is now up to 5th. And we're watching the young Frenchman, whose uncle is, of course, Ivan Muller. And Ivan revelled in the slippery and slidey conditions. Erlachey took his first World Touring Car win last time out in Argentina, and it seems an eternity ago, 13 weeks. But
with just looking at this, Tom, they're only just sneaking into under the 2-minute mark. So with 6 minutes 20 odd left on the clock, that's 3 laps, 3.5 laps, maybe 4 laps they got tops. So the guys are in the
is Huffy saving tyres? Or he will go out and have another go at this, won't he?
He should be pretty safe. 12th is around. Well, oof. Bjork's just gone half a second quicker.
So Atlas Rosbeefs has tweeted in saying, didn't have me as a wet, wet, wet fan. It's more your era than my era, isn't it? I'm more take that. See more current.
You're more like Little Mix. You are.
Yeah, moving swiftly on. Here is Gabriele Tarquini, and the Italian down in 9th, about to start a representative lap. Wouldn't it be great to see Gabriele on the front row as Kevin Gleeson, the American, gets him very, very sideways, takes him away from the exit and slows him in terms of building the throttle. So it just costs time when you have a slide like that onto the entry. And look at this now.
He's trying.
He's trying. It's almost as if there's enough grip now that the way the circuit is, and it falls away there, the rear tyres just can't keep up.
Where's he on his sectors? Let's just have a look at how we're doing. Should get through the first sector soon. Second sector, he's still going to be shy. My timing screen's just taking a bit of catching up here.
Kevin Gleeson, one of 3 RC Motorsport machines, because we have joining him and Erlachey, Felipe De Souza this weekend. It's still Felipe, Coronel, Nagy,
It's unbelievable.
and De Souza. You know, I know we were watching Gleeson, but I've seen a few of the other cars, and Nicky Kasberg's now the latest driver to complain of oversteer. So what do you do to counteract that?
Yeah, but Nicky always complains of understeer, doesn't he?
It's oversteer he's complaining of.
Oversteer.
Yeah.
But he does look at Daniel Nagy. He sits very close to the wheel there.
It's almost NASCAR-esque. So Tarquini up to 4th. Still Ted Bjork quickest from Rob Huff. Nesta Girolami, Babu, his nickname as he's sometimes referred to, is 3rd. Gabriele Tarquini 4th. Guerri down to 5th. Chilton still in the top 6. Nicky Katzberg does bounce up with an oversteery car to 7th. That's good enough, because don't forget, we go again, so it's the top 12.
That's if no one bumps him, Tom. You've got 3 minutes left. You've got another couple of laps for these guys. I don't think that's a safe place for Katzberg at the moment. You've got too many good guys behind him.
Vicky Butler's tweeted in saying, is it not unfair that Rob Huff can do both? Chinese touring cars and world touring cars getting more track time than any others.
Well, anybody can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's if you look at the measure, obviously it is an advantage, but it's up to the others to try and seek out the opportunity, and Rob's done that really well. Interestingly, we did say earlier, had it been dry and hot, I think it would have been a disadvantage.
I think it would have been a disadvantage because the cars are so different to drive. And Huffy's been flying backwards and forwards to China all year, doing the CTCC, Chinese Touring Car Championship. So it's just, it just falls on the same weekend at the same circuit, which is either a stroke of luck or brilliance, or, you know, as I say, if it's dry, I think there'd be more of a problem for him.
Yeah, Mark Young's asking if you're jet lagged. Well, if you don't know the backstory there, Matt flew in from LA because he's, you know, such a mega that, you know, that's just the lifestyle that he leads.
Yeah, rock and roll. There we go.
Just under 2 minutes to go now. Norby Michelis moves up to 3rd. Ted Bjork still quickest from Rob Huff. So we've got 2 Hondas in the top 4, and Michelis with a real slide into turn 1. That was good to see. Held it. Didn't look like it cost him too much time or took him away from the apex. Certainly didn't run wide. Ted Bjork with traffic ahead. That is D'Souza, so he'll be hoping that the driver from Macau gets out of the way, and he does. No, that's his teammate Nesta Girolami. So Girolami improving, and we said, didn't we, a second ago, it's just going to be who's last across the line, I think.
Yeah, you got some quick guys at the back there. You got Mehdi Banani back in 13th. He's just set a couple of good sectors early on, as has John Philippi.
Nesta Girolami using a lot of curves through the final few corners, and he goes 2nd quickest, so it works for the Argentine, and that bumps Rob Huff down to 3rd. Michelis still 4th. Gabriele Tarquini 5th. Erlaché now up to 6th. Keep an eye on Erlaché, because, you know, he's doing a very good job in Lada Vesta, run by RC Motorsport. Good team, but maybe not one of the more fancied runners, and I don't mean any disrespect there, but you've got 2 big factory teams, essentially Volvo and Honda, fighting it out for the top spot. So, you know, anything that Erlaché can do to mix it with them is very impressive.
I know I'm jumping the gun a bit, Tom, but, you know, later on, obviously straight after there's the individual qualifying, we have the Mach 3. If it's a drying track, then that's really going to throw a curveball for the first team going, isn't it? Because it's straight out.
It'll be the first time I think we've had that dynamic, or certainly I've had that dynamic. Checkered flag is out. You're watching John Filippi with the 27 plate on the windscreen across the line. He goes 11th, so he puts Mishigami on the bubble. Mishigami goes to 12th. Mehdi Banani's still on a lap. Tom Coronel, who's in the bump zone, is on a lap as well. It's now or never for Mehdi Banani and Tom Coronel. I don't think D'Souza's got enough underneath him to get through. We're on board with Mehdi Banani. Can he get up into the top 12? Here he comes. The Citroen Elese across the line. Where does he end up? He doesn't improve.
No. That's sealed his fate for the weekend. He's going to be back there, and especially if it's going to be a big wet. Oh, Mishigami trying hard.
Well, he's right on the bubble. He's in as it...
He's safe at the moment.
Yeah, it's only Coronel that can do anything about that. Mishigami goes 12th. Now we look at what Tom Coronel can do. We're on board with the Dutchman.
Mehdi Benani is going to be very disappointed with that. He was very quick in FP2 in the wet conditions, which we're likely to have tomorrow. So he's going to have his work cut out now. Look at that, 2 Volvos, top of the pile as well.
Tom Coronel out of the last corner. Can he improve? Can he knock Mishigami out of the top 12? No, he can't. So, as it stands, Tjed Bjork is quickest ahead of Nesta Girolami and Rob Huff. And we lose Mehdi Benani, Tom Coronel, Daniel Nagy, Philip de Souza, and of course Zolt Davis Zabo, who didn't make it out. But a big casualty there, Mehdi Benani. He's equal on points with Rob Huff and Tom Chilton in the Independence Trophy. And Mehdi Benani,
yeah,
of
he's
course,
like 4th in the
overall.
Yeah, so
he's
big missed
4th.
opportunity. Big missed opportunity.
Big casualty. And to be honest, that Citroen underneath him and Mehdi Benani haven't quite had the pace all the way through the wet conditions of free practice.
Now this is going to be an interesting session, because now you are really, I mean, you had to use wets in that one, and it was last time out, fresh wets. Okay, let's give it a rip. This is going to be throwing the dice for slicks, I'm sure. Could be at the end of this session, so, and it's going to be, again, you got points for the top 5, and the top 10 are set. So the back end of the 11th and 12th will get bumped out, and they will stay 11th and 12th for both races. So
Now we move into Q2, it all gets a bit more complicated. The top 12 have gone through, but the premise is now you have to be in the top 10 to really make it count, because if you qualify 11th and 12th in Q2, you're locked into 11th and 12th all weekend. If you qualify in the top 5 in this Q2 session, then you're locked into the top 5.
You go into the Q3 shootout.
Exactly. And then...
Mehdi, we saw you shaking your head, hitting the steering wheel. You look very frustrated. What on earth is going on?
I think that some things is going bad, wrong with the setup. We have tried to do everything to resolve it. But at the end, it's a shame, because we have done our best, and now the time to do some things we have done very bad.
Bad situation also for the championship. You desperately need these points for the WTCC trophy.
It's like this now. Now we need to analyze everything and to see what's happened exactly. It's bad, yeah. Nothing to say about disqualifying.
So Mehdi Benani there, just saying it how it is. Quick commercial break for us, and we'll be back with Q2. Welcome back to this Ningbo International Speed Park and China, an eastern coastal province, 200 kilometers south of Shanghai, and we're well into Q2 now, and this is the all-important session to lock out the top 5 Q3 shootout. Just under 8 minutes on the clock of this session. It's a 10-minute session to go, and you really don't want to be 11th or 12th here, do you, Matt?
No, they're all they're throwing the dice now. They're still going out on wet, so no one's brave enough to venture onto slicks just yet. So, see the guys sitting it out, the guys who've been locked out in Q1.
Talking about technical stuff, Ben Constanduras has got into touch on Twitter saying, Matt, is a long wheelbase better in the wet? So it could be a disadvantage, these conditions, for Honda, but a dry and twisting track could be good for the short wheelbase.
Obviously, some of the reverse corners and tight and twisty track should suit a shorter wheelbase car, like some of the street circuits we go to in Portugal and that. In the wet, I would have thought no difference at all, really. I'll probably be quoted as wrong by an engineer or something, but in my experience.
What do engineers know? They just like to overcomplicate it, don't they?
They just like to engineer things.
So Tom Chilton on your screen, and I spoke to him after FP2, and he was really buoyed with his performance in the wet conditions. But for the first time today, and Rob Huff talked about this on the radio in Q1, it's really much drier. These cars have not been on the track at all around this 4-kilometer Ningbo circuit in these conditions. So again, it's a new process, learning the line, learning everything. Where's the grip going to be? As the track dries and gets greasier, the line and the grip will change as well.
Yeah, what some of them can do as well is they can maybe, if they're looking for traction and braking, just go for slicks on the front of these cars. So if it's going to be loose, you can get the traction and just use it that way, but I think it's still wet. It's still too wet. It's like parts of Silverstone where the fresh asphalt is, and it doesn't dry out, and you don't know where it's built in the water table as well, because asphalt is so porous. A lot of the drainage is straight through it. So where it is in the water table, sometimes you get the water seeping back up through it if the water table's full. And they have had a tremendous amount of rain here over the last few days.
That'd be a great question to your engineer on the outlet, wouldn't it? Where are we sitting on the water table?
Well, this was one of the problems with Rockingham circuit in the UK. It was built below the water table, so when they sent the dryers out on it, they'd dry the circuit and it would get wet again quickly because the water would come up through the asphalt.
Brilliant. There you go. You learn something new every day. Matt Neal, a wealth of knowledge. That's why he's here. So, as we see Girolami with plenty of oversteer, he's just gone quickest. And he throws that Volvo into turn one and manages to hang on to the rear of it. He knocked Tom Chilton off the top spot. So, Tom had been holding the top spot, and again, just like Q1, I think this second session's going to be who's last across the line. This will continue to get quicker and quicker, and you have to beg the question, can they push, or will they have to have a cool down lap here just to save the wet tyre, so they are, when the clock ticks down, able to maximize that last push lap?
Yeah, I always think that there's some guys rushed out to start with. We saw Michigami rushing out and everything. It's almost the guys who've saved their tyres. Yeah, Girolami quickest at the moment. They save their tyres for a last hurrah. It's only a 10-minute session, half the time of Q1. So they are not going to get a chance for a second set of tyres. These guys have got what they've got, and they've got to make them last to the end.
As it stands, it's Nestor Girolami who's quickest from Tom Chilton. Erlachey has popped up into third. The Frenchman aboard his Lada Vesta, enjoying a really good performance so far this weekend. On board with Nicky Katzberg, who is down in 10th, but I expect him to improve. He goes 5th. And Katzberg was complaining of oversteer earlier on. I tell you what, it's just gone darker, ever so slightly darker, hasn't it? And if you've been watching free practice on the Eurosport Player...
As I cross the brake, I have these rear tire lobes that give me every oversteer. It's really difficult to not book them.
And if you've been watching, as I was saying, it's been wet all day, raining continuously.
Anyone say that? Is that Katzberg saying he's...
Every time he hits the brake, he has he feels the diff is locking, and he has the oversteer.
Well, the only thing I would say is the oversteer is that track you wind brake to the rear for the wet conditions, and you've got to come forward on it as it dries out. That's the only thing I could say. He's got too much rear brake on there at the moment.
So Kevin Gleeson hasn't made it out at all. We've only got 11 cars on track. Norby Michelis has yet to complete a representative lap. Norby Michelis has left it right to the last minute, so he's gone slightly off strategy to maybe get the best of the tyre and not push too hard early on. Nesta Gerolami it is who's still quickest, and there is his Cyan Polestar team that run the Volvo S60.
That could be an ace card for Michelis. I reckon it could be an ace card for him. But Girolami up there in P1 at the moment, he's been nowhere all day today, and he's pulled that one out of the bag, hasn't he?
Here's his countryman, Esteban Guerrieri, or Guerri.
Gabriele Tarquini, lead Honda at the moment.
Rob Huff up to second, Ted Bjork still in third, Gabriele Tarquini fourth, Tom Chilton fifth, Nicky Katzberg is sixth. Michelis quickest of all on those fresh tyres. That's only the first sector, 2 more sectors to go for Norby, but so far so good. Guerri improves.
Yeah, Katzberg needs to try and eke his way into that top 5. He's going to need the points for
okay, Ria, cool down and try again. Cool down last sector and push one more lap. Cool down and one more lap.
Michelis has dropped time. You can see there it's a personal best for him, but he's looking for purple sector times if he's to go to the top of the times through the last sequence of corners. That was Tarquini. Here's Norby Michelis.
He's only got to get in the top 5. He doesn't set his grid position just yet. So second, and it's close, 700ths.
So Mishigami it is who finds himself locked into 11th. Kevin Gleeson's not going out, so he must have a problem because it's too late for him to go out now. The checker flag's out, so Kevin Gleeson aboard his RC Motorsport Lada Vesta didn't make it out, so he will start 12th. And Mishigami, if he finishes here, will start 11th. And those two will be locked into those positions for the rest of the weekend. We're focusing now on the top 5 because the top 5 go through to the shootout. And as it stands, Nesta Girolami is topping the times ahead of Norby Michelis. Ted Bjork third, Rob Huff fourth, Tarquini fifth, and Erlachey has abandoned that lap, so he's going to be 10th. And that, well, the way that stands, it's not too bad for Jan Erlachey.
Well, it's a little bit disappointing because he is... The Lada is good in the slippy conditions normally, and Erlachey is not afraid of putting his best foot forward in those conditions either. So is that rain coming down again?
It's rain. Well, I just said a second ago it was getting much darker, so you know it's the obvious transition from that darkness to obviously rain, which is what we've had. It's been this sort of impending doom, isn't it, all day here in
yeah, it is rain coming down again, isn't
Ningbo.
it?
Right, Gabriele Tarquini with plenty of curve through the penultimate corner. Now he crosses the line, he goes quickest. So the Italian who's standing in for Tiago Montero had not driven this car before this weekend. It was very different to the last Honda he drove. Goes quickest of all in Q2. And that cool-down lap made the difference.
Well, I didn't think he'd have it left in his tyre, so fair play to Gabriele. Spider-Man's back.
So this is why it was good for Jan Erlachey, because on your screen you'll see he's now got the pole for the opening race, and Matt will explain why that is. Have you got your
so
Pythagoras theorem out?
Now you can hear me confuse myself. Q2 is occupied by top 12. That top 12, the back two are locked in, which you explained, to those grid positions. The top 10, that decides that the top 5 go into Q3. 6 to 10 is locked. So and with the reverse race being the first race of the day, the shorter race, if you qualify 10th, you're on pole for race 1, and you are 10th for race 2. And that goes back to 6th. Top 5, you gain points for the top 5 positions, so they go into a shootout, which will determine their grid positions for
the main race, the second race.
Both races.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Both races. Yeah.
But it'll be, it's the reverse order, so.
Exactly that. So that's why Jan Erleschet actually aborted his last lap, because he knew he was effectively locked into 10th, because no one can go backwards. And with Rio Michigami having been ahead of him crossing the checkered flag, that meant that Erleschet was locked into that. Jean-Philippe will actually join him on the front row. Then it'll be Nicky Katzberg, Esteban Guerri and Tom Chilton. And
Erleschet soaked up pressure before. When he's got that reverse grid, that's when he's won his race before. So if it's wet conditions, he likes the wet. Lada likes the wet. Could be another win for them.
So he won last time out in Argentina in the first race. He had a battle with Tom Chilton, but won on track.
Hoping for another win potentially here in Ningbo. Jan Erleschet, you are pole for the opening race, but you're not a happy man. What's going on?
No, we have the pace to be a bit better, but yeah, P10 we can be happy for tomorrow. It's going to be heavy rain, a lot rainy tomorrow, so we have to, yeah, we will have to manage the tires because the drop-off is quite big. A lot of managing operation we have to do for tomorrow. To be honest, I would prefer to be like P6, P7 to fight with a guy up front, but it's a good opportunity to have a good result in race 1. So let's see. I hope they won't cancel the race 1 because of the rain.
That's interesting, because so your strategy is not ever to go for the P10. You are always gunning for the top spots, and that's why you're frustrated by it.
Yeah, sure. You know, guys which are playing the championship, they can maybe, if they have a bad quality, play for P10 to have a better chance to win the race 1. But for me, I just have to prove that I'm fast, so that's not the best way to do. But I'm happy to start P1 in race 1, but I will be even more happy if I can finish in the top 5 in quali.
Yeah, understandable. Best of luck, Jan.
I think that's the right attitude, because, you know,
it is. I like his attitude. It's good.
There's been right up there. I mean, he was 6th in free practice 2. Right, before we go into the final Q3 sector, we're going to go for a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more live action. Q3 session about to get underway. We're on board with Rob Huff, who's making his way to the start and finishing line. He's on his outlap, and once he gets through to the start and finish straight, he will start his flying lap. You get 1 lap, and well, I suppose it's win it or bin it, isn't it, Matt?
Well, it's a bit rough on Huffy because these conditions, well, the rain stopped again, so in theory the track should get slightly faster, but well, he's got his window wipers working a bit. Anyway, all to play for. Huff's been super quick in free practice, and the rain is coming down, actually. You can see it on his screen. This could play to him.
So enjoy this on board. Rob Huff has been able to really throw this Citroën LS around so far this weekend. He's been great to watch.
Can't afford to overcook it, though, but you can't afford to underdrive it.
I mean, it's so easy to underdrive it. I know it sounds obvious to the viewers at home, you know, just don't undercook it. But you know, you see your first split and you know you're on a good lap, and then the first thing that comes into most people's mind is don't make a mistake, not carry on, continue to do what you're doing, make it count, continue to go purple. It's so easy to think don't make a mistake, and you know, before you know it, you brake too early into, say, this corner here up into turns 5 and 6.
Yeah, if you get getting into a corner and you think, well, that was okay, that was easy, you've underdone it. You've got to be right on the limit of where the adhesion is, and it's when these changeable conditions, it's predicting is very, very tricky.
Up now through 13 and 14. Quite tight and twisty through this section.
If he's going to, the disadvantage for Huff is he's going to set the benchmark for all the others to follow. So they're going to have a rough idea of where the track is and how hard to push just by virtue of looking at his lap time and comparing that to where they've been in Q2 and Q1.
So Rob Huff, purple all the way through this lap because he's the first driver to go out in this Q3 session. He crosses the line, it's a 1:58.8.
Which is a solid lap, but it's not a stellar lap from what they've been doing now. We don't know from the track conditions, so...
It has got a bit wetter, the windscreen wipers are on, so I don't think it's as good as it was in Q2. But the proof will be in the pudding. What can Ted Bjork do? This was his Q2 time, a 1:58.6. I think Huffy might have...
He said a good
job there.
He set a good bar for him to go for. So we've got 2 Volvos, 2 Hondas to go for it now.
Now we've got someone to compare to. Ted Bjork into turn 1, and you can see it is raining. Look at the water on the lens. Look how dark it's got here. And, you know, we said it might be a disadvantage for Rob Huff going first if the conditions were to stay as they were. Well, if they're to worsen, it's a huge advantage. What's happened there? It sounded as though he had a problem.
No, it's... They've got a bit of mixed... That was from earlier by the looks.
I mean, look at the buttons there where his left hand is. But yeah, the sound sounded a little bit all over the place. He's definitely not got a problem because he's 3/10 quicker, but you could hear it, couldn't you?
So far, so good for him.
So far, so good indeed. Ted Bjork is 3 3/4 tenths ahead of Rob Huff in the first sector. Where's he going to match in the second sector? Great direction change there.
Yeah,
Rode
it's
the
got it
curve
working
so
well, hasn't it? Oof.
Huge advantage. And now the Polestar Siren Racing team look on thinking what I was explaining earlier. Don't make a mistake, because this is brilliant from the Swede. And he hasn't necessarily been the quickest Volvo so far throughout free practice, or certainly as we've seen in Q1 and 2. So Ted Bjork could be about to stamp his authority on this qualifying session when it really matters in Q3. Comes out to the final corner and the Swede goes across the line. He lost a bit of time, but it's still quicker than Rob Huff. He goes quickest of all.
My radio might have stopped working, so I don't know if you heard me. I got Scott now. Go P1 with 3/10.
So Ted Bjork has put his lap in. Norby Michelis now has something to really get his teeth into, because I think Ted Bjork has just really laid down a marker that's going to be difficult for the rest to beat.
It's going to be tough because the Honda's obviously on maximum weight penalty. So they're carrying a lot of weight around here. There's a couple of hairpins, long straights after, and they've got to drag all that weight up. He's got the benchmark to go for, though. He's aware.
Headlights ablaze. Norby Michelis down into the first corner aboard his Honda Civic. The man that is third in the championship. Bit of oversteer early on. It's a fairly long first sector, as first sectors go. 43 seconds. Again, we've got that mixed in sound that is not that of a flying lap, but nevertheless, Norby Michelis is flying around the first sector, I can assure you that. And he's just shy of Ted Bjork's first sector time. And the interesting thing for us looking on is if Michelis can stay honest with Ted Bjork in the middle sector, I think there's time in the final sector. We saw that.
He definitely dropped time in the final sector, but that could, again, Tom, that could be track conditions. So
has got darker, hasn't it?
It has got darker.
I mean, if you're Gabriele Tarquini, you'd be itching your rivals on because you just don't want the deluge that comes when it does darken over and the clouds fill up. Look, you can see there. Can you see the background?
Hard. No, he's down, but he could make that up. Bjork lost that amount of time in the last sector. So this could be close at the end.
This is the tricky bit, off camber, very difficult to get the car in. You can see where I mean, look at the sky there, the backdrop. You can see the rain starting to come in. All eyes on Norby Michelis out of the last corner. Has he done enough? He runs, oh, he has, and that's what I was saying. There's the time. So Norby Michelis does go quicker, and Ted Bjork conservative in the final sector. And that has cost him because Norby Michelis has hit the top of the timesheets. So as it stands, it's Michelis, Ted Bjork, Rob Huff with 2 to go. And Nesta Girolami's one of those 2. Girolami was quickest in Q2 for the vast majority of the session. Gabriele Tarquini stole it away in the last moment. And this has been a fascinating dice for pole position so far. What can the final 2 protagonists bring to the table? Talk us through this lap, Matt.
Yeah, down into the turn 1's just a kink, and down into a 90 left, followed by another 90 left in turn 3. There's no names for the corners, they're all numbers. So again, a right-hand kink for 4, big long straight into big heavy braking area, 90 left into a long 180-degree hairpin, tucking back on itself, then a kink right down into another long straight, down into 9. We're going to come down to 9 now.
And he's
big
up.
braking area, hairpin, 180-degree left again. Got to get the front end in, keep it tight, get the traction down well. Long straight up here. Heavy braking area again at the end for another 90 left before we go into a real technical section here.
This is a tidy lap, isn't it? It's very neat and tidy. Just a little bit of oversteer. Commentators curse there.
Yes. It's a real snaking sequence of corners this before we go down to another 180-degree hairpin here. So looks like the front end's really working well on that Volvo, and it is on by the times as well.
Nesta Girolami's put himself in the shot window to snatch the pole position away from Norby Michelis. He just needs to be a bit more aggressive than Ted Bjork was in the final sector, because as you can see, the times are in his favour through the penultimate corner. And now onto the straight. Has he done enough? Yes, he has.
Yes, he has.
Nesta Girolami with a fantastic lap, and it was one of those laps where it didn't look spectacular, so you don't think it's that quick, but he was doing all the right things, and the Argentine has delivered when it mattered.
Will that be his first pole of the year? It could be. Or could the returning Spider-Man get his first race of 2017, first pole? That would be a fairy tale for him, wouldn't it?
It would indeed, and we don't see too many fairy tales in motorsport, but Gabriele Tarquini's more than capable of writing his own magical story. It would be Nesta Girolami's first ever pole in World Touring Cars if he is to hang on. But Gabriele Tarquini, well, I don't think he's going to be feeling the pressure. He's too long in the tooth to be feeling the pressure. Great balance into turn 1 there. You just saw the rear of the car sliding away.
Just that could have cost him. That was, he just got his outside wheels on the curb there, and you just saw it squirm on the way in.
Yeah, just turned in, didn't he, when he needed to lean on that right rear.
I think that'll cost him a couple of tenths and easy. But we'll see how he goes. Girolami's Volvo did look strong.
Fabulous sounding Honda Civic through the first sector, and he's made a big error there at turn 2. It would have meant that he had to come out of the throttle, which would have kept him out, well, would have kept him hemorrhaging time all the way down to turn 5. And that is where the time loss is, I think. So I think Tarquini is, well, it's going to be hard pushed to do anything from here in terms of challenging for the pole, but can't write him off yet.
You just got to play it safe, bring the car home. They've all been solid laps in the top 5, so after that first sector, Gabrielli's going to struggle on him, and he'll be getting his sector times in car, so he'll know roughly where he is.
He'll be wishing he wasn't. Looking at those, he'll be wishing he wasn't getting them in, but it's turned into a bit of a scrappy affair from Gabrielli, and look, it's got even worse. That's brilliant. It's rallycross.
Yeah. Good bit of car control.
And I'm going to clap that as well. That was absolutely brilliant for Gabriele Tarquini.
Should get style points, maybe.
Honestly, that was spectacular, if nothing else. And Tarquini, well, he's delivered on every front but the time. And unfortunately, if it's spectacular, it's not quick. And for Honda, it didn't work out. For Gabrielli, just tried a bit too hard after that mistake. And the problem is, when you make a mistake early on, you just then try and bring the lap back to you. And look at this.
Yeah, it's a good bit of action, but he lost it for earlier in the lap. He was away from it, so.
Once he's got over the disappointment, he'll probably enjoy that moment, looking back. That man, Nesta Girolami, has netted his first pole position in FIA World Touring Cars. And the man that goes by the name Babu has certainly earned his stripes. He's been brilliant through the wet session so far here in China. And the circuit that no one else had been to has been conquered so far in qualifying by Nesta Girolami. And he'll start the main race from pole position.
Thank you for believing. Yeah.
Ted Bjork congratulating his teammate, and the Polestar Cyan Racing squad embracing their star. Girolami it is who beat Norby Michelis to the pole position. Ted Bjork is third. Alexandre Legui there just getting in shot. Rob Huff fourth. Gabriele Tarquini rounding out that top 5 from Q3. Well, a quick commercial break. We'll be back with all the emotion and reaction from that qualifying session.
Happy days. Bebu Girolami, congratulations. You are a pole man for our main race here at Ningbo. Well done.
Wow, finally. I'm really grateful with all of the team. They did a fantastic job in the previous. I mean, 2 days ago, we were testing, making a shakedown, trying to sort my problem that I had in the before races. So we expect to be competitive this race because this vibration, famous vibration, went off in this testing. So I'm really happy. Since honestly, this is very, very nice for me, for my confidence, because as a driver, you always want to win.
And in this race, I had too much confidence in the previous, in the days that I had the possibility to fight. So I came back. I am here to fight, to help my teammates, and we are ready to fight for the championship.
Great for you. Delighted. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Nesta Girolami, it is, who scores his first World Touring Car pole position. Norby Michelis is the man who will join him on the front row, the Hungarian, with a great lap aboard his Honda Civic. Then it's Ted Bjork that managed to round out the top three. Rob Huff, Gabriele Tarquini, fourth and fifth. Erlachet will start in, it says 10th there, but that'll be the reverse pole, so to speak, for the opening race tomorrow morning. Both races tomorrow live for you on Eurosport with myself and Matt Neal, so make sure you stay with us. There are the championship points, and you get a few bonus points for being in the top 5 shootout. So the gap now between Thiago Monteiro and Ted Bjork is down from 12 to 9. And expect that gap to shorten even further as Thiago Monteiro is not here this weekend after a testing smash in Barcelona, which has given him double vision, but he is on the mend and in good spirits and looking forward to being back in his car that Gabriele Tarquini's taken over for this weekend come.
Very nice to be speaking to you here, Gabriele Tarquini. It'd be nice to be under better circumstances. However, we're about to go into Mach 3. This is the first time that you've done it, right?
No, to be honest, I did on Lada last year, I did in Honda the previous year, but I forgot more or less than how is Mach 3, so Dario explained me a little bit how to do this, because I mean, it's something very strange and different from what we normally do, and I try to do my best.
And what is the strategy, or do you have anything in place? Have you had time to get that sorted?
I mean, the strategy, there is no strategy to go as fast as possible as usual, like in Q3, and this is the strategy.
Well, that's a good strategy. Go as fast as you can, Gabriele. Thank you.
Welcome back to a very wet Ningbo International Speed Park, and we've had the main qualifying session. Now it's time for Mach 3, and those of you that have not watched that before, it's not a Razor advert and it's not a reference to a rocket either. It's actually an innovative concept whereby it's a team affair, isn't it, Matt? And you can elaborate on that.
That's right. It's they all line up adjacent to each other of each team, each factory entered team. So we've got, it's basically a 2-horse race. We've got Volvo v Honda, and it's 2 laps of the circuit, and it's the last car across the line. So they've got to work as a team. They've got to finish is the main thing, because if 2 cars finish and 1 doesn't, the team loses the points.
And, you know, various different catastrophes can happen. So, for example, in Argentina, we saw Ryo Mishigami have a problem with his car. So the other two Hondas had to go slowly with it. Well, they didn't have to, but they decided to stay together because Mishigami had a problem. So they effectively went at his speed. He had no turbo, which was difficult to watch because, you know, it kind of took the spirit of the event out straight away. Well, the spirit was there, but the competition at the event
Volvo
out.
also had a problem as well, wasn't it? It was...
yeah, they did. Well, someone ran wide, or
slightly less of a problem than the Hondas were that weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that. So, you know, it's a tricky affair. So, essentially, you've got to make sure you don't let your teammates down by having a crash or making a mistake, and hope the car stays together and you can all get together in one piece. If you've got one or two drivers in your stable that are very quick over a lap, then you've really got to get going and get your head down. Thanks for those of you that have joined us on Twitter so far. Franco Liners has come up with a few questions, and one of them about what's going to go on next year. Will there be various manufacturers joining World Touring Cars in 2018? Well, that's we've got to get the regulations sorted out, haven't we, Matt? And that's a question that is yet to be sorted. We'd love to see more manufacturers in the series.
Yeah, regulations and the championship itself is the $50 million question at the moment. So there's been a lot of teams pushing hard for it and wanting to know where they're going and how they're going there. But TC1 is in at the moment. What we do know is Honda is got a new shape Civic out now, so it would probably prohibit them continuing to run this car as a factory team next year. So that could have some bearing on where we go as a factory, you know, as a championship even.
And Franco Lyon has also said thank you for explaining the qualifying rules, Matt Neal. Right, Mach 3 about to get underway. Now these cars will make their way around to the start and finish line. They'll stop and they'll then line up all together, and the start lights will be what effectively starts us off. Look, you can barely see the mountains in the backdrop, and that is because of the impending weather that we've sort of had all day that kind of kindly stayed away for the main qualifying. Now will it arrive for Mach 3? It's certainly getting much wetter again. You can see the rain coming down. Also on Twitter, Les H has got involved, and well, we say thank you to you for watching. They said looks more like Cockermouth than China because of the
Cockermouth. I like that.
lack of training. But yeah, there is your trio of drivers: Nesta Girolami, Tied Bjork, and of course Nicky Katzberg. And if you've got any more questions on Twitter, you can get in touch at Tom Gaymore, at Matt Neal Racing, and we'll try and get your questions out. So it's
this is just basic formation lap, which is actually not bad. It's a sighter lap.
Look how much water it's got.
Yeah, it has. And it'll be even water continues to come down. As long as it doesn't start to puddle for the Hondas, it should be fairly close. But yeah, they've got to go around, form up on the grid, side by side, where they'll get their starters orders. And it is 2 complete laps, not flying laps. 2 laps, start to finish. So they're basically once past the finish line in the middle, and then they finish back there. Brainchild of the Mach 3 was to emulate Tour de France team playing, so in the peloton. Doesn't quite work the same as it does in cycling, where you can pick up the slipstream and the draft, because as you do in these, you lose a bit of downforce on the front end, so they just have to concentrate on not making a mistake.
Ah, so we've got a problem with the lights, so it's actually a flag, is it? That's the ruling. So we're actually focusing on the lights, but I think it's going to be a flag on the pit wall. Yes, it was a flag. So The water has got into the electronics, and there you go, 3 Volvo S60s racing down into turn 1. It's Nesta Girolami who gets ahead of Ted Bjork. Nicky Katzberg settles into 3rd. Matt, quick question, do they discuss who's going to get down to turn 1 first and what the order's going to be?
I think they might do, but I've always said one of the hardest things about driving one of these cars is getting them off the line fast, and it's so critical. So I think they just see where they get to in turn 1, and you've just got to use your common sense. One can seed and one can go, so it's about keeping it clean, keeping it as fast as you can, and not getting in each other's way.
Hang on, racing drivers and common sense in one sentence. Have you just used those 2 words together?
Well,
yeah, so rule of thumb is don't all arrive at the apex at the same time.
Yeah, because if you've got your slower driver at the front, he's going to hold the other 2 up. But if you've got the slower driver at the back, he's going to give you the slow lap time. So it doesn't really matter where any of the 3 of them are, as long as they're just try and work as a team and do it together.
Interestingly, we've got the quickest driver of all, Nesta Girolami, who just set the pole in the individual qualifying out front. Ted Bjork's going with him, and it looks as though Nicky Katzberg's just off the back a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah, he has been complaining about his car today, so
that must be a sinking feeling when you're Katzberg, because you don't want to let your team or your teammates down, and you know they're going at it hell for leather, and you know you're doing your best to try and keep up.
Well, it's one of the few occasions where he's got a direct comparison before the races of what his car's like. He can see the other 2 cars, he can see what the drivers are able to do with them, and he's obviously lacking that in his car. So
it's a case of
it's a bit of telltale, because this doesn't really count for the drivers. So he'll be getting the data. He'll want the data out of their cars after this session, you know, because we're going to have worse, if not similar, conditions tomorrow, and then he'll be trying to download them and
he's getting the live data now, which is my car's not doing what their car's doing. That'll be the conversation that greets the engineers come the end of this session.
He'll not be a happy Dutchman when he gets back in the garage.
So there is the dynamic, and that's what we were talking about. It's essentially the last car that cuts the beam. So Nicky Katzberg trying his best to keep up with Ted Bjork and Nesta Girolami here, because it'll essentially come down to him just dropping off the back of his 2 teammates.
Yeah, substantially so, really.
On board with Ted Bjork.
No, it's Girolami, isn't it?
No, Girolami's the lead car.
Ah, right. Yes, of course. And Katzberg, you can't say he's not trying.
No, he was almost backing it in there, wasn't he?
Seems like he's pulled a bit back in with the lead to have.
You just don't know if Ted Bjork has just dropped back a bit to try and help him. If you just drop back a bit, it actually might encourage him. If you continue to push on, you're not going to you're going to dishearten him, if anything. So this is where I know that the cycling dynamic would have liked to have worked. And Nicky Katzberg very, very sideways in the penultimate corner across the line. Here comes Girolami, will take the spoils ahead of Ted Bjork, and Nicky Katzberg gets a clap from his team. And that is the benchmark, 4 minutes, 5 seconds and 1/10.
I just have so much over there compared to them, and still I'm now faster than my qualifying lap. I don't understand.
So basically that's Nicky Katzberg saying to his engineer what we said he would say, and that is very simply, my car won't do what theirs is doing. Fix it. It's not always as simple as that, and you know, a lot of times it can be the driver inputs as well, and it's a very, very subtle equation. Here come the Honda stable ready to deliver their good work, and no disrespect here, but it'll be interesting to see how Rio Mishigami can keep with the likes of Michelis and Tarquini. Tarquini's got to do a better job than he did in the individual, because if he makes a mistake, then Volvo are going to take the spoils here. What's your guess on this?
I would say Volvo, if I had to put my money on them. Katzberg was obviously a bit of a walking wounded, but Mishigami hasn't really had the pace today, and he's been a bit of their Achilles heel, you know, through the year on the Mach 3, so I would have to put my money on the Volvo guys today. Tarquini off to a good start, Michelin shadowing him.
Down into turn 1 goes Gabriele Tarquini ahead of Norby Michelis and Rio Mishigami. And I'm not sure why, but we're going to be taking a commercial break. So make sure you stay with us and we can see how Honda fare in this Mach 3 battle. Well, welcome back, and we've seen Gabriele Tarquini make the same mistake almost that he made in the individual qualifying. You can see the dirt in the front of his car. He went straight off on the grass where he had his incident earlier on. So Tarquini was essentially leading this battle, has now dropped to the back. It's Norby Michelis that's ahead of Rio Mishigami, who's dropped back off the back of Michelis, and Gabriele Tarquini's now trying to catch up. He's caught up to the back of Rio Mishigami, but yeah, they say lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. It does, but poor old Gabriele Tarquini.
Well, yeah, that's and all off camera as well, unfortunately, but yes, it was a similar scenario to what happened to him in the top 5 shootout, and that just pushed him wide. It was the lead car, and went back down to the back of the train. But that's done Honda's challenge really. So 4 seconds down now. They might as well just bring it home, get the second place points, and that's about.
I love the positive spin you put on it. The second place points.
They got a podium.
My grandfather used to crack that joke in rugby. They're coming second. Yes, that's losing. Right, here we are across the line. It is Norby Michelis who's going to lead the trio ahead of Rio Mishigami. Tarquini cuts the timing beam there, 4.7 seconds shy of the Volvo crew. There are the Polestar Cyan Racing team celebrating, and there is, well, the Honda squad looking a little less jubilant.
A little bit more despondent.
So Tarquini's filled up his front grille again. You can see there he's cut the grass on 3 occasions I can count today. So you've got a Honda lawnmower.
I must try that. Whether being able to clap with your hands in your pockets. It's a new feat.
Here we are. So look, here goes Tarquini. He used too much of that curve, didn't he? And off he goes again.
It was exactly the same corner, wasn't it?
Exactly the same corner. So watch the curve just unsettle the car.
Yeah, down into 18.
It's an expensive lawnmower, that.
Did you know Honda built the fastest ever world record holding lawnmower?
I think I did, because I remember you had something to do with it, didn't you?
Yeah, they did.
And
cut grass in the morning, 117 mile an hour. Not actually cutting grass, but.
Did you drive it at 117?
No, I didn't. It was lethal.
I can imagine. So there it is. The Mach 3 results. Nesti Girolami, Ted Bjork, Nick Katzberg ahead of Gabriele Tarquini, Norby Michelis and Rio Mishigami. A margin of 4.7 seconds. The difference that separates Volvo and the Honda crews. Gabriele Tarquini will be a little bit frustrated with that qualifying session. It was a great effort in Q2. It all went wrong from there on in.
Mach 3 winners, Volvo Polestar Cyan Racing. Some more points for you. Well done, gents. Kat, won't speak to you yet. What was it like out there? It looks a little bit wet.
It is a little bit wet, but in Mach 3 everything went really well. We had a great start. The two guys in front of me, they took off like I was standing still, but we were luckily able to beat the Hondas, and super happy to grab the points.
And main race pole man here, Bebu, and fantastic out there as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day for all of us. Really, really appreciate all of the team effort to do a check-down before this race. I think we came back really strong. We showed the speed in the free practice 1, free practice 2, and now in qualifying. That is really important to be in the top to help these guys to fight for the championship. So we are a strong team now. We won the Mach 3. That's really important also for the championship manufacturers. So I'm really happy today.
Yeah, exactly that. And following on from that, Ted, you are currently standing by default championship leader this weekend. We know that your car is fast around here. So how do you feel ahead of tomorrow's race?
Just now it feels absolutely great, all the effort that's put in. If you look back what I had experienced last year in the rain, so we did a lot of nice things and it feels great. So just be able to drive with these guys, maybe fantastic work today. You know, we keep working tomorrow, and yeah, let's see what the weather brings.
Good. Well done, lads.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's Alexandra Le Guy, and I love the fact that she goes, Katzberg, we've not spoken to you yet. So takes me back to my public school days, where you just labelled with your surname. And that's the way it is. But another commercial break from us.